was a brilliant man. In fact, his whole family was. He had an older sister, my Aunt Anna, who married later in life and never had any children. Aunt Anna she was devoted to her nieces and nephews, which were me and my 6 brothers and sisters. Aunt Anna graduated from high school at the age of 14 because, as she said, she had already taken all the classes they had to offer. She worked as a typist at a Seagram's factory for 30 years. Even as a very young girl, I understood what a loss it was that all that brilliance was never developed. More striking yet was the fact that she didn't resent her lost opportunities. That was just the way it was for women. She didn't have any dreams of doing something significant. But she did leave a legacy. I hold her responsible for my rebel leanings and my determination not to waste my mind. I don't know what a mind is. I don't know what a thought is. But I do know that I have a brain, and that has always been my fascination. That led me to my career in rehabilitation for those with brain injuries. My research in graduate school was on the esoteric topic of spatial and temporal processing in right and left hemispheres of the brain. When I found myself in leadership roles, I began studying leadership and naturally connected it to the brain, because everything I did, I connected to the brain. Are leaders born or made? Isn't that the age-old question? We really don't know much about the brain, and research on the relationship of leadership to brain activity is scarce, but I'll share with you some of the few things that I do know. First of all, visioning is a critical ability for leaders. In fact, it separates true leaders from just managers. I'm not referring to sight, but to the ability to imagine and communicate a future state. We see it in our hero leaders, in Martin Luther King and Gandhi, Steve Jobs, Jane Addams, Gloria Steinem, and my new favorite, Angela Merkel. Did you know she was a physicist? Unbelievable. They all had what scientists call socialized vision. That kind of vision is characterized by altruism, social responsibility, the inclusion of others as necessary for success, and fostering the greater interests of society. The other kind of vision is personalized vision. That kind of vision is egocentric in nature. It focuses on financial results and performance, an obsession with authority, and achieving dominance over competition. It is essentially about the me part. There have been attempts to find out where vision occurs in the brain, and neuroscientists have tried to locate where the brain mediates vision. In one interesting study, neuroscientists placed electrodes on the brains of 46 business leaders. They measured the intensity of the activity, the brain activity, while the business leaders developed visions for their corporations. They were told, as you look toward the future, can you formulate a vision statement for your firm? An example of a statement that was considered personalized vision was, my vision is to be the #1 supplier of essential office products and services, regardless of what the product line is within the market that I serve. As you can see, it's not a very compelling vision. An example of a socialized vision was, we will operate within an umbrella of a vibrant and productive environment that promotes the best possible working conditions for our workforce and to give them the best possible development opportunities. That's truly a vision that relates to social good. The researchers found that elevated brain activity was associated with a greater degree of socialized content in visionary communication. I don't have the time to get into details about this study, but for those of you who care, it was in the right frontal lobe of the brain. Then they had the direct reports of those business leaders fill out standardized questionnaires related to charismatic leadership. And they found that socialized vision communication could positively predict the extent to which followers view leaders as charismatic. There have been many studies that conclude that women have more of the characteristics of socialized vision than men do, that they think and act more on the values of collaboration, altruism, and the good of society. I wish the brain researchers in this study had separated the results by gender. 46% of their subjects were women. My prediction would be that the women would have shown higher degree of brain activity associated with socialized vision. So what does this mean for you? Well, I've spent years and years teaching young women to help them become leaders, and a large part of the mentoring is about the necessity of having something significant, something outside of themselves to work for. My advice is not to focus on personalized vision, but on something meaningful outside of yourself that you can accomplish. Frequently, coaches tell you, imagine yourself in 5 years. Have you heard that? Or 10 years. I could never do that. I just never could do it. I only saw myself where I was at that moment, striving for something meaningful, something significant that I could accomplish. I imagine many of you have a hard time just imagining a different you in 5 years. That's because the things outside of yourself that change you, the things you do and the experiences you have make you who you will be in 5 years. I'm the perfect example of John Lennon's sayings that life happens while you're making other plans. I never, ever aspired to be a CEO. Never saw myself in that role. Back in 1970 at the VA hospital in Minneapolis, I only wanted to help the soldiers wounded in Vietnam recover and live their lives. So I've always had a passion for helping people with disabilities recover and live the lives they were meant to live. My dream was to have the mysteries of the brain discovered so that it would lead to healing. And we've made great gains, amazing gains in that area. At Madonna, we always start every project with a vision. When we built the first medical fitness center in Lincoln, we started with a vision. It was, with a welcoming environment and a culture of acceptance, encouragement, and personal concern, Proactive will create life-changing experiences for all its members. We will change the model of healthcare from one that focuses on absence of illness to one that focuses on physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. That's a socialized vision. One of my personal heroes, Helen Keller, said, "Many people have the wrong idea of what constitutes true happiness. It's not attained through self-gratification, but through fidelity to a worthy cause." Seeing the future not as a different you or a place you are going, but one you create in that moment by doing something meaningful is the activity that not only creates the future and summons others to the dream, but changes you in the process. When you look inside yourself all the time, you will only find what's already there. When you look to the stars, they will guide your journey to become something more than you were.